This video is going to discuss the three main causes for airy tone on flute. If the only answer that you've received to fix airy tone is to make the embouchure smaller, stay tuned. There are several additional factors that contribute to airy tone. More importantly, this video is going to tell you how to go about fixing them. Before we get started, if videos about flute technique, repertoire guides, and flute performances are of interest to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Let's get started. The first factor that can cause airiness in the tone is the size and shape of the aperture. However, it's not always the case that you have to make the aperture smaller in order to get rid of that airy tone. Normally with beginners, you do have to work on getting a smaller aperture to make the sound less airy. However, I find that with most high school players or advanced middle school players, it's actually a problem that their embouchure is too small and doesn't allow the more mature airstream that they've developed to actually pass through the flute. The first exercise that I would try to see if this is what's causing the airiness in your sound is to just simply play one note and then try and tighten the embouchure and then loosen it.
As you do this, you might notice that you get different notes that are going to come out. These are different partials, and they happen naturally when you adjust the embouchure. In this exercise, we're not aiming for a perfect tone all the way through. What we want to do is experiment with the size and shape of the aperture to figure out what works best.
The next factor that can contribute to airiness in the sound is the direction of the air. When we play flute, we have to direct the airstream in different positions depending on the register that we're playing. For most low notes, we think about aiming the air slightly lower. Middle range is in the middle, and then the higher range, we direct it slightly higher.
You can see these changes in the embouchure as I play octaves.
To experiment with the direction of the airstream, I suggest that you work on flexibility studies that help you find the correct direction for the air in different registers. One exercise is my target practice exercise, which is part of my high register tone studies. You can find a link to this exercise plus the other high register studies in the description to the video below. In this exercise, you must use only the direction of the air, guided by the lips, in order to produce the different sounds. As you go up the harmonic series, which is all written out in the exercise, you will find these different positions, and you might have to make slight adjustments to the embouchure in order to get a great sound. Here's an example.
The main goal of this exercise is to use the same amount of air throughout as you produce the different harmonics. The lips should be making the changes in the pitches, not by blowing more air. I like to think of the lips as moving into more of an ooh position as the notes get higher. One common mistake is to force more air into the flute as you go higher. As you can hear, this creates a really airy sound. Instead, you want to move the direction of the airstream to slightly higher by using a more ooh embouchure.
The third factor that can contribute to airiness in the tone is the amount of air that you're using. Part of this can be the way that you're using vibrato. For example, when we're playing any note with vibrato, most players think about using slightly more and less air from their standard steady, consistent airstream. However, we have to keep this within the range of good tone. Here's an example of what it sounds like when we take our vibrato outside the realm of good tone. Here I'm pushing beyond the limits of the flute. Now let's try and integrate those pulses into the core sound. So I'm going to start by finding the sound and then gently adding the pulses behind it. So to summarize, the three main causes for airiness in the flute tone are the size and shape of the aperture, the direction of the air, and the amount of air that you're using to produce a sound. All of these factors need to be taken into consideration, and the best way to work on them is with long tone exercises. As you work on your long tones every day, you want to make sure that you're thinking about these three factors and figure out which one is causing your issue. Of course, the best way to diagnose this is to get with a flute specialist instructor and see what they think and what they're hearing. A trained ear can pick these things out much easier than someone who's just learning the instrument. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below. Did I miss something? Is there another reason that you find that you play or your students play with airiness in the sound? Would love to hear from you.